Has your little one ever said something like, but, I goed there and I maked it? A phrase that would make many laugh and be completely smitten. Preschoolers often say things that make adults smile. Perfectly jumbled sentences that reveal just how fast their minds are working and developing. And these adorable little mistakes are actually important milestones. They create opportunities for learning, development, and improving communication abilities. It is during their preschool years, particularly between the ages of 3 and 5, that children experience an incredible burst in their language development, often expanding their vocabulary, experimenting with grammar, and learning how to express thoughts, feelings, needs, and ideas. This stage in their development is critical and lays the foundational groundwork for reading, writing, and confident communication later in life. By understanding the natural progression of language during these years, parents, caregivers, and educators can better support their preschoolers as they learn to make sense of the world and share it in their little voices.
Child's preschool years are an extremely important time for language development. It is during this time that children's brains are particularly ready to learn new words, practice talking with different people, and begin understanding how sentences work. This period of time is like a supercharged learning phase for language. The language they learn now doesn't just help them talk, but is critical in preparing children for social communication and development, setting foundations for literacy development, and beginning to shape and predict their future academic journey. Children who, during this time, develop strong language abilities tend to do better academically, particularly in the realms of reading and writing. This is because skills needed to understand spoken and written language, which are vital for learning across all subjects, are built during this time. Children learn to decode words, follow instructions, comprehend meaning, and express ideas clearly, which are all abilities that tie directly into future performance in reading, writing, and classroom participation. However, it's not just about academic success. Language development during this time is vital for socializing and building relationships, both in and out of the preschool yard. Children who can express themselves clearly, be understood, and understand what others are saying are able to better join in play and solve problems. Comparingly, children who struggle with language during these preschool years can experience increased hardships in social situations, which can often lead to feelings of frustration, a diminished lack of confidence, or feeling left out. That's why supporting language development during preschool is so important.
At the age of 3, questions starting with the WH word will emerge as children gain an understanding of their vocabulary. At this age, children will understand more than that they can speak. An increase of morphological development can be seen. 3-year-olds should already be comfortable using the S suffix to form regular plurals such as my toys, or as the present progressive tense using the suffix ing, for example, mummy dancing. Other grammatical structures of greater complexity that have begun to be used at this age are things like the irregular past tense, fell, for example, apostrophe S as a possessive, like daddy's pen, and the suffix ed to form regular past tense. However, this form of past tense may be overused as they increasingly tell stories and talk about the past. When a child reaches the age of 4, their use of more complex grammatical structures expands exponentially, as does their vocab. A child of this age can now comfortably use third-person regular and irregular tense. For example, she does, and they are now contracting their copular and auxiliary words, such as she's arrived and we're eating. And now also make longer sentences using coordinating and conjunctions, like and subordinating conjunctions, able to produce most speech sounds correctly, except for a few, as well as using rhyming words. The stories will now be more on topic as they previously may have been a bit more incoherent and trailed off. By 5 years old, children have a vocab of about 2,100 to 2,200 words and have nearly developed all speech sounds, acquiring the th, zh, and r sounds by this age. 5, children can also usually be understood by most people and use well-instructed sentences, tell simple stories, correctly use past and future verb tenses, for example, ran and will run, and participate in conversational turn-taking. They can also usually follow 3-part instructions by this age, understanding them without stopping to listen. They understand time words like later, before, now, or soon, and they start thinking about the meanings of words when learning them.
Modelling language-rich environments allow children to be immersed in social settings that expand on their childhood language development. Parents are able to intentionally use full and descriptive, meaningful sentences when engaging with preschoolers to build on their vocabulary and grammar. As children learn through hearing an example, regardless of whether they are able to comprehend the sentences being said to them, they will begin to develop their language through these conversational exchanges. By preschool age, children should have the capacity to maintain a topic beyond a sentence or two, which is only possible within well-established routines. Routines including bathing, mealtimes, and sleep schedules are proven to establish a structure for this discourse, relieving the pressure on a preschooler to follow the continuum of conversation planning. For parents and educators, implementing this can be as simple as narrating your daily activities while interacting with preschool children. The creation of language-rich routines and environments facilitates the ability of preschool-aged children to expand on their vocabulary, language structures, and background knowledge to further their language comprehension.
Classified as either receptive, where a person experiences difficulty understanding language, or expressive, where they have difficulty speaking, language difficulties have a significant impact on a child's life.
In social situations, language difficulties can cause misunderstandings and make children targets of bullying due to the contrasting features of their communication. The negative effect this has on well-being and self-esteem is evident in a study conducted by Bennett et al., which found that 57% of children with language difficulties also present with clinically significant emotional and behavioral issues. Additionally, poorer engagement in social interactions can contribute to language delay by limiting a child's opportunities to learn how language is used in social situations and expand their vocabulary. Social rules such as the appropriacy of jokes and turn-taking are only learned through social interaction, making them difficult to grasp for children with fewer authentic conversational experiences. In children with receptive language difficulties, the frustration that results from their attempts to express their wants and needs being misunderstood can incite behavioral difficulties. Similarly, the actions of children with receptive language disorder may be misinterpreted as misbehavior due to the inability to follow instructions. Discipline that children receive in response to this behavior is not only frustrating as they do not understand what they have done wrong, but also limits their engagement in learning and social interaction with family and friends. As this can compound into social difficulties, poor academic achievement in secondary school, and future challenges pursuing employment and higher education, early intervention is critical in preparing preschool-age children to be school-ready. Difficulty following instructions as a result of receptive language difficulty can also limit a child's engagement in play and the activities involved in daily routines, such as getting dressed and meal times. As these activities constitute the majority of child's language exposure and act as key opportunities for the development of attachment towards caregivers through authentic communicative interactions that make the child feel safe and loved, limited engagement in them may strain the caregiver-child relationship and worsen pre-existing communication difficulties.
Language development at preschool age builds the foundational skills required for reading, writing, and communication, which will not only impact on academic success, but also your child's mental health. Children with language difficulties are more likely to experience social obstacles such as exclusion and bullying. Therefore, early intervention is key in tackling language disorders to ensure your child can become a confident and capable communicator.